Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. In today's episode, I'm going to be just practicing more of our competitive list. I've made a slight tweak to it, and the one I'm going to be looking at today is the Astra competitive list. So, what we've got in this list, obviously we've got Maximus as a good starting point. We've got Deadeye here, my two favourite early game units. We've also got Rickety Backfire here as a solid 2-drop. For 3 drops, we've got Blindsider Eztli. We've also got Axl Pyro here. We've got Toxoid, good for the sort of synergy with Into the Breach and Astra to just take out one problematic unit at some point. We've got Shrapnel here to try and sort of clear out some damage, clear out some sort of enemy units, a bit of AoE. It's very useful, sort of, especially with that surprise factor. And lastly, I'm trying out Ursix Scattervine. So previously we had Taria Arsenal in this slot, and while Taria is also an aggressive unit, can add a lot of damage, Scattervine can do so without needing extra assistance. It could even be an extra hasted unit out, and if we had, 6 Cinder, we could use Into the Breach on Rickety Backfire, and then if we need one more damage to kill something, we can play Scattervine as well. So I want to try out Scattervine. It's something I've seen Dragon Raven do a lot, and they usually have quite good success with it. So I wanted to try out this roster and see what we can work out. If you enjoy this video, please do hit the subscribe button. I'm really going for that push now with the new set just around the corner. I want to really push for those 250 subscribers on YouTube is what we're working towards, and I'd absolutely love it if you guys could be part of that. And once we figure this out, I'll see you in game. Okay, that was actually a very quick one. We didn't need any downtime whatsoever. I barely even looked away from the screen and we found a game already. So hopefully this competitive list is something that we'll be able to use. I recognise this. I can't remember who this is off the top of my head, but I know I played them a few times. I'm sure it's someone from Discord. Okay, so what do we want here? So our big drop is Shrapnel, who would take 3 damage. But I actually think that's pretty reasonable. Escape Hatch and Disruptor is very powerful. Orbital is not ideal, but Vortex is okay, and then Stun Lifeline are reasonable. I want to try Escape Hatch Disruptor. I'm not convinced that they are the right choices. Is this Pax maybe? I'm trying to remember who this is. I'm sure I recognise this person. Maybe Maeve. There'll be a previous video of me playing them, and I'll be unsure what's even happened. Oh, it's Island Sun. Okay, yeah, I remember seeing them not that long ago. So we could Maximus here, but you know what? Honestly, I don't even hate the idea of just playing Maximus out and trying to be the aggressor here. So they can actually get. This was a mistake. I actually think I'm going to grow Cinder instead and just go for a bigger play next turn. I thought I could get slightly further and place Maximus just out of range of this, but I feel like my only option where I moved was to place it around here, which would give them good line of sight. So I do feel like this was maybe a mistake on my part, deploying this far up. Okay, so they got a low chance of getting this. Of course they do. Not what we wanted, but okay, this could be Maximus. Okay, they're just going for a mine. Interesting. So I mean, I guess we just take that shot, because it's not really going to do anything otherwise. I'm going to move back here. Honestly, I'm not really sure what we play into this. We obviously just want to play out some units, so maybe this is even just a Shrapnel play. I feel like Shrapnel doesn't feel too bad, especially given that we know they're going to be... Oh no, because now we've just ruined our Escape Hatch. Shrapnel should win next turn. Escape Hatch is worthless now. There's no point in using it on anything. That was actually quite a big mistake. I should have played 2 units out, or even just Deadeye and Maximus would have been good. I think that's probably actually what I should have done, saved the 1 Cinder. Yeah. I think that's... This is a mistake on their part. They're going to use 2 Cinder here just to deal 1 damage to Shrapnel. That's absolutely fine by me. And then whatever they choose to play here, it can only be a 2-drop with their assist, so I feel in a pretty solid spot here. Especially if they put something that's... Okay, if this is just Beatrice, then that's fine. We can just push that away and just start chipping damage onto the enemy captain. They're going to move over there, also fine. I kind of want them to just place like an aggressive unit back here and we can just push ourselves into it, but this looks like a Beatrice to me. It absolutely is.
Eager to please.
Okay, so we can't quite get into range, but can we get out of range of Beatrice? Yes, we can. So we're just going to pop over here. The question is, can we do anything about Beatrice? And I think the answer to that is actually probably not. So, what can we do? So we can move forward here. If we do this, we get Toxoid. These are not good things to be picking up as well. So, honestly, I think we're just going to be deploying aggressively here, with the intention of maybe using our disruptor next turn.
Heard every excuse.
We might as well shotgun that. Just try and get a crit. No. But yeah, unfortunately, we've kind of handicapped ourselves by playing Shrapnel. We should have had these two out the previous turn. We should have had enough Cinder here to play something else. And then we could have also been following this up a little easier. Okay, so this is fine. That miss is nice for us. The fact they hit that first shot at the beginning is pretty ridiculous, so them getting a miss to make up for that is pretty nice. Okay, mine, that's fine. If they start grav disking themselves away, that's a really inefficient use of Cinder. This doesn't seem right to me at all. Like, sure we can't push through Beatrice particularly quickly, but we can do more than this offers.
Crossing them out.
Yeah, so we can just shoot from that. Got the crit as well, which is a big hit. Okay, so we're just going to go for this here. Okay, what have we got to deploy? So because we've only actually got 3 drops, I'm going to Ozos myself here and just try and get that guaranteed damage. What's the best we can do here? Got a 14 there for a second. There we go. Let's go for this. So we should hit one of these.
You kind of liked it, didn't you?
And let's go back to here. Should be just out of range of Beatrice. Yeah, perfect.
This is good.
And similar sort of thing over here. I don't mind taking the hit from Beatrice onto Astra. That's pretty reasonable. But we can also deploy Blindsider Eztli just out of range over here, I think. Because with our ability to use Disruptor next turn, so we're in a pretty good spot. Also, this is one of the interesting things that I think I was talking to someone about previously, that I really like holding my assists, keeping my opponent in the dark, and this is a really good example of that. We haven't had a big use for Disruptor yet. We could have used it to push something out of position, but not a ton. And if we end up getting into a point where there's one turn where we can actually push through and get loads of damage, then that's what we ought to be doing. See, here, I get the feeling they're going to use Grav Disc and also shoot us. And I think that's just a waste of Cinder. That's 4 Cinder gone. Oh, sorry, 2 Cinder gone for this and leaving them with 4. Just to try and deal with Deadeye. This can potentially hit 2 units. No, only hitting the 1. So yeah, next turn I think we're going to hop over here and just Rickety this and try and go for lethal. I think we're in a pretty good spot to do so, especially if they don't play anything out. Like, obviously they're going to play something out, but yeah, doing this is almost guaranteeing that this is going to still live, unless they've got like a Scattervine. Oh, another miss from our opponent. Pretty unlucky on their part there.
What's the hurry?
Okay, let's see what we can do. Okay, they are going to deploy. This feels like a Shrapnel because it's 4 Cinder. And it's a small base, so this feels like 4 Cinder of Shrapnel to me. It's a Shrapnel. And okay, they can stasis our captain, our guy. We're going to just go for as much damage as possible here, so we can into the breach, Rickety. Rickety might as well just come here and try and hit both. Get the damage out as quickly as possible. We do get the explosion, which is nice.
Eyes open, tails behaving.
Push for this. And we got the crit. Perfect. So all we need to do now is just move in here. We can even just remove any risk.
Never gets old.
Take the 100% shot. Perfect. That ended up pretty well. Going pretty well. So again, this is our more competitive list. We did the sort of standard thing of when they play armoured units, we just avoid them, play around them, go for a different approach. Oh, we're getting close to... Oh, we did just level up Axl. Nice. So Axl's at 4 now. Shrapnel's getting close to 6. But yeah, so that's one of the things is when they play when they play defensive units like Beatrice, Shrapnel, and that sort of thing, what we've ended up doing there is literally just ignoring them, you know, hitting them as and when we can if there's no other option, but trying to just take out the captain at that point. You know, we could have turned onto them and tried to work our way onto those targets, but there's not enough armoured units for us to have to stop completely, and the positioning just led us to a situation where we could really just push onto the captain and start getting that damage through. So hopefully we can do the same thing again. We've got another game and we're against Island Sun again. So again, a level 30 opponent is nothing to be sniffed at. It's a pretty solid level there, so happy to be playing against that. So we've got Stasis Field, Stowaway, Cinder Infusion, Nanoshield, Corrosive Particles, Medical Recall. Again, not great selections of assists. I'm going to take Stasis Field, Stowaway here because we're the aggressive list, and I think stunning is better than giving ourselves that extra bit of defense.
My dad would
However,
not approve.
I'm just going to try and take things a little easy here. Oh, don't say I misplayed that. Oh, oops. Well, at least we have Maximus. How aggressive do we want to go? Let's just try something out. Let's try a really aggressive deployment. I think this is probably a mistake, but if they can't deploy something safe when we're in a great spot. If this is another mine, I'm getting so confused by our opponent's placement on things. Yeah, if they want to place a mine, they can place a mine. We'll just start trying to chip damage away places. That's a good place if they're going to place one, because it potentially breaks line of sight as well. Yeah, so we don't have line of sight onto them anyway. So what we're going to do here is just bring Maximus in here, take these shots, move slightly back this way. We want to stay into his slot. If we get this, that's great. Oh no, because it doesn't count unless we kill a unit. So their best angle up there onto Maximus. So we're just going to deploy Deadeye to about here. Again, they have to move if they want to hit us, and it again allows us to apply pressure forwards. So we're kind of pushing them in this direction, which then eventually brings them out of cover here. So this could be a shrapnel here, which is pretty awkward for us to deal with, but again we can just keep moving and start applying pressure onto their captain. So this next turn is going to be a Blindsider Eztli turn for me, most likely.
Come on, everyone.
Yeah,
Look
so
alive.
if they deploy a shrapnel, say here, that's pretty good positioning. Back here, not so much. What we want to be doing is just finding ways to get angles onto this without doing nothing. Yeah, so there's shrapnel. So we just want to move further up, so Maximus can get nothing. So there's no sense in taking those risks here, so take this shot here. The other question is, what do we do here? So Blindsider Eztli is going to be our deployment, but how far can this move? Up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place Eztli about here. And here where Shrapnel can move, I'm going to actually move our Maximus down this way to try and get a better angle for next turn and see what we can do from here. So I'm not convinced about this. Okay, Corrosive's pretty bad, but oh, for some reason I completely forgot Shrapnel could go this direction. That's entirely on me. So on this next turn though, I can into the breach Rickety. Oh, that's actually a really big... Please miss this. Please miss Max. Critting that for 5 is insane. Okay, so we are in trouble, but we're not out of this yet. The fact they can just kill Eztli here is really unfortunate for us. If they'd have just not been able to kill it... That was a max damage crit, by the way. Because that was 4 damage plus 1, so that was huge. If that was no crit, then this would have lived, and we could potentially be dealing a ton of damage over the next couple of turns. Where's the... Okay, so they're just going to go for the Eztli kill, which is absolutely correct, and they're going to play something for 3 Cinder. And we're probably going to be into the breaching Rickety.
This lovely
and seeing if we can get a big chunk of damage off here and stunning their captain as well. Again, I think Island Sun's been using mines very aggressively. I don't think that's always the right answer.
Watch them
So here with Beatrice, the fact they've played Beatrice is obviously good. This looks like an Ion Storm maybe, or a Disruptor. And that looks like Vortex from there. But if they'd have placed this against the terrain, it makes it much harder for them to deal damage. Right, so here we're just going to get to Stunzax, and we're just going to
Eyes open, tails
push for some
behaving.
damage. What we want to do is move away here so that we're not being blocked in anything. And just start,
Need this.
wow, okay, pushing some damage through. We're going to just take the Orbital Strike here, I think.
Good ammo.
And we're going to... So we could also just deploy our own Shrapnel and into the Breach Rickety next turn, or Axl Pyro, but I think next turn, given that we're going to have 5, we can do double Scattervine. I think this is worth it, because they have to deal with Rickety, basically. Like, there's no situation here where them not dealing with Rickety is going to be good for them. I'm going to place it about here so that we want to make it so as hard as possible for Shrapnel to get an angle on multiple things. So we're just going to go from damage straight to the enemy captain.
No, that's smart.
Down to 9. And end the turn. Now we've got 1, 2. So this is going to die without a doubt. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage on the board. They're at 9. They can't move away. And we've got at least 2 more from Scattervine. So depending on what they play here, like if they play a non-armoured unit, we could use our Toxoid and just kill that. Keep working the pressure here. They absolutely have to kill Rickety or the game just ends pretty much. Yep. This doesn't seem to be much of a choice to me. This seems like you do this now. It's not in range of Beatrice. You've only got 2 things that can attack. But they could go for trying to hit multiple things, but that takes a minus to hit here, and I don't think I'd be willing to take that risk. I don't think you'll even get 2 in the cone from there either. I think this is making... Yeah, this is giving them a situation that there's a possibility that they fail. You don't do this first, even if you are considering it, you do this first, just to make sure you can get in range. Oh my goodness. That's such a bold choice. I don't think that's right. I think they've just signed their death warrant because they're not in range here. Yeah. So this to me is a sign that they haven't necessarily worked out what the plan is. Something else is going to be here. Like, this could be a couple of Scattervines to finish us off maybe, but this doesn't feel right. Another Sentinel. Okay. So we're just going to move in, make sure we're completely in range for this. In fact, let's just check now. Yeah, so we just shoot this straight away, hope for the explosion. I've got a crit as well, yeah. So that's pretty much the game over here. We just release those into Deadeye, go for the shot, and kill the game. Kill the game, kill the captain. I think that was such a bold choice to not go for the Rickety kill. I think it was just a mistake. Rickety is so powerful. Offering up 6 damage per turn is not something you can afford to avoid. Or to afford to ignore, rather. Yay! Level! So we're going to try and hop into one more game. It may be the same opponent again. But I think, yeah, that was the big decision point there that I think was potentially an issue, is not killing that Rickety. It just meant we had lethal that turn rather than having to wait an extra turn. If they hadn't done that, I think we just apply as much damage as we can and maybe just play out Shrapnel, something tough, something that's going to make it hard for them to remove so we can apply enough pressure the following turn. We've got another hat trick, so it's Island Sun 3 games out of 3 today.
Hungry?
Let's see what we can do. Do we get a good set of assists? Not really. I think Disruptor's the better of the ones here. Medical Recall, again, not a big fan of. I think sometimes it's okay, but sometimes you find yourself actually just giving yourself a disadvantage because you're putting something back into your bridge without actually any real benefit. The health is fine, but redeploying is useful if you've got the right units for it, but a lot of the time it's just not efficient. Okay, so if they're going to move forwards, I assume they probably, yeah, I was going to say, like, move one direction or the other. So they're clearly trying not to get trapped anywhere here.
Let's let our hair down.
So this actually does give us a shot, which isn't a good shot, but that's not why I was going here anyway. I was going here because it's got a safe Maximus position over here.
at the door
And we're going to
through.
gradually make our way forwards and see what we can do. So they're going to stay in the middle of this and just try and deploy out. Again, this is going to be Beatrice. This is an awkward spot for us because this is just a very hard to deal with situation. So I think what we need to do really is actually just start putting pressure on and just taking as many shots as often as we can while staying as safe as we can. So we do get a shot here of some sort. Let's see. So she can't move here. I actually think this is fairly safe.
Dad taught me
We're
to
going to
share.
gain additional cinder.
How about this?
Now it can just be shrapnel, or it can be like Rickety Deadeye. Beatrice can't deploy all the way over there, so I actually think we're just deploying shrapnel about... So if we go just in front of this, we should actually be safe. But we want to go just up just in case to make sure that we're not giving them an easy line up there. Because if we line them up, then they could use Grav Disc to get Beatrice in range, and they could line these two up and hit both of them, potentially kill our Maximus. That's not what we're really in here for. This feels like shrapnel. Yeah, there we go. So they've kind of blocked off their own units here, so I think this is a situation where we actually just start using our own shrapnel to try and push through damage onto a couple of things. So we're going to use Disruptor to push this out. We're going to try and get at least 3 damage onto it. And then probably just deploy a Blindsider Eztli somewhere this direction. So I think they're moving things this way, and we want to move around this way to try and sort of push them around. Because we're not really being pushed out of anywhere. We're the ones trying to do the pushing. Okay, so this whole situation of the running back here is a bit bizarre to me, but if they'd have hit that 3%, I think I'd have been a little bit shocked. Okay, so we're just going to disrupt them out here and just use this as a turn to put some damage out.
Crossing them out.
And if we can line up well here... Let's see, can we get... Okay, so this does get both of them this way, which is what we want. Why is it showing my armor flashing? Interesting.
Oh, I forgot my lucky cravat.
So Maximus is just going to come here, get a couple of shots in,
I'll let you have that.
probably move back into the smoke. Again, makes it harder for shrapnel to hit, especially if we just go back this side slightly. Astra can just come in.
Dad would not approve.
Brilliant, that works out well. How far back can we get Eztli? So if we deploy it there, I think we do actually just get hit by stuff. So I think we deploy Eztli over here. And that way, you know, they can get 2 things onto it but not 3, and it would take a big crit to do so. And we can just start putting that pressure on. So this is a good angle for them. They can get... Oh, only 2, that's not too bad. We're okay with that. And they missed one of them anyway, perfect. So depending on what their Maximus does, we could just into the breach Rickety here. Which is, if they go for the aggressive turn onto us, I think that's what we're going to have to do. And it's just start turning on them, ignoring all of the situation. This is only 4 damage a turn, potentially 6. Yeah, so the fact they're going over here, that sells me on what we need to do. We're just going to turn on their captain and try and kill them. Like, there's no other thing to do. If they block these routes, that's good for them. But yeah, over here is not a good deployment. We've potentially got, what, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 damage next turn, so they really need to start thinking about the defensive positioning here. If they just look at the board, they know that we've got Rickety in our roster. They've seen it twice already. They must know this is going to happen.
Cool under pressure.
Okay, so this isn't... Yeah, so this is nearly game over. Okay, stasis field's good. So that puts them at 6 damage here, not anymore. And that actually probably changes what we need to do here. We need to spend 6 Cinder. But we don't have any activated abilities on board. So what do we do?
Meditating.
I think we just take... Okay, so I think Maximus has to be one of the first things to shoot. Because we need to try and get this damage in. Okay, that's good news. Just put Shrapnel down here as a safe bet. We can just go here and try and clear the lot. We can't avoid hitting Astra if we do that though, so I think we just go for this and avoid the Broken Vengeance crackback as well.
Good job,
Missed both.
Barry.
Not ideal. Okay, so we need to deploy 4 Cinder of things, or 6 Cinder. So let's go Deadeye
Just like we
and
practiced.
Scattervine. We've got Eztli in first. We're gonna melee here. Got a crit, which is nice. We're gonna move in this direction, make it awkward. Gain 2 Cinder. We'll grow over here. Attack again. I actually think we're gonna medical recall this
Okay.
and move Maximus back here.
I've got plans.
This seems right to me. So we've blocked them in place. We've got plenty of damage coming. I don't think they've got enough to kill us from 16. They've got 2, 4, 6 up here. Potentially 8 down here. And then we've got multiple Scattervines next turn as well. So we only need to do 3 damage next turn for all of this. And they're hitting their own shrapnel. Okay, I think we're in a fairly solid spot. They could use Broken Vengeance to try and take out our Eztli, and it does do exactly that. But what it does do in that front as well is also just kill themselves, basically, without some crits. This is risking hitting... Wow, they hit us for 3. They've got a couple of crits here, so we're down to 9, but I don't think we're in a particularly difficult spot here, especially given that we've got Scattervine on demand here, basically. So we've got ways of spending all our Cinder. They're going to have to pull things out and run away, but I don't think any of this is enough. I don't think, without other things being able to move, I don't think they're going to be able to get themselves safe. They're just going to sit in here, I think, and do what they can.
I was being timed?
So we can move up this way and just into the breach Rickety, and that could even just be the game on its own. With Deadeye on here, we've got a very, very good chance. So this list is so aggressive, and like we've seen in this. So this is the same for previous formats. You can just ignore the enemy sometimes and just go straight for the captain. So we're going to move over here into the breach Rickety.
It's what's on the
Rickety
inside.
into range and just go for this shot first of all. And hopefully this explodes. And there we go. We've got GG. So another 3 really solid wins with this list. I think I actually like the Scattervine edition. It gives us a little bit more reach without having to rely on Astra. So then that turn, while we were stunned, we actually had the ability to play Scattervine and get some damage in. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make a bit of a difference there. And all in all, I think a pretty successful list. So if you like this, please do hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment down and let me know whether you think Tari is the right pick or whether Scattervine. I did have a couple of situations where I thought maybe the rapid fire would do well, but it's keeping Tari alive first. It's quite the issue. And then other than that, drop a like on the video, and most importantly, have a good day.